Good evening.
Good evening.
Hello.
At a different venue this week.
We're at a different venue. We're outside.
We're
You'll
outside.
probably hear the cars going past.
Yeah, and the dog might pay us a visit, but
Whatever.
yeah.
We will continue. And it's great to have you with us on week number
8.
8.
Yeah.
Week number 8 on series 3.
Yeah.
My name is John, and this is my wife, Sally. And we have got an interesting evening looking at what it is to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still healthy?
Yeah. Very healthy.
Keeping at it.
Raring to go.
And so however you're going on this journey with us, we hope you'll stay with us, because it's about real life. It's not just a diet, it's real life.
Yeah, real life. Yeah, it's a lifestyle, not a diet.
We have a faith. You can follow us whether or not you've got a faith, but it helps for us. And we have real friends.
And we enjoy real food.
Yeah, and real food is food that comes from the farm as opposed to the factory.
Yeah, that's right.
Right? The farm or the garden as opposed to the factory.
Yeah, not too many packets.
No, as few as possible. So it's taken from John 10:10 that Jesus said, "I have come that you might have life in its fullness." And that isn't sickness, it's health. And so you're very welcome. This is, it doesn't say so there, but it's actually it does say so there, week number 8.
Covered up
by my little machine here in front of me. So we're ready to go?
Yes. Yeah.
What are we talking about this week?
Are we having a testimony this week?
That's a very good idea.
It's always good to start with a good story, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's have a story of someone that is really getting on very well.
Yeah.
I can heartily recommend BeHealthyChurch. I have never felt so well. I have previously done the 2 most well-known slimming clubs, and I have to say that having done those, I usually reach my target weight, and then it slowly creeps up again. But this diet, I've lost 1.5 stone. I feel so healthy and energetic. I started in January, so I'm 6 months down the line, and I still haven't put any of my weight back on. So if you're looking to lose some weight and get healthier, this is the diet for you.
I like stories.
Yeah, so do I.
I like
nothing like a real life story.
No, change lives, and that's what it's about.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you to those people that send emails, and we'd love some more. Let us know how you're getting on, and it's really great. Texts are good, emails, WhatsApp.
Yeah, we love to hear these stories,
and it's great because it's encouragement for everyone. And it's over 100 people have done number one on this course, and if we kept doing it in our home,
we wouldn't
have had 100 people.
No.
And what's more, they're all over the country.
Yeah,
and I'm sure there's some over the world.
Yeah,
so that's great news. But remember, it starts with me. It's my decision. It's not your decision.
No,
it's my decision.
Yeah, because everything is permissible for us, but not everything is beneficial.
Yeah,
everything is permissible for me, but I will not be mastered by anything. Food for the stomach, and the stomach for food.
Yep. So we all like eating, but it's what we eat and what we put in which protects us from diseases, sickness, and when we got married, which was a long time.
45 years ago,
nearly.
Actually. Next month.
It said in sickness and in health in the wedding. But I mean, what we should have been talking about is healthy eating. And I'm sure there's
45 years ago we didn't.
No. Well, it was quite healthy then.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the doctors told us that we shouldn't be eating fat.
Yeah.
That we started getting fat.
Yeah. As a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's very interesting. Anyway, let's have a look.
So do we need to tell anybody else about this?
Yeah, do we? It's interesting because in the Bible it says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because you have rejected knowledge, I reject you from being a priest to me. And since you have forgotten the law of your God, I also will forget your children. Now, there's a lot in that.
Yeah.
But what I think is really important is lack of knowledge. That's all we're doing, is we're putting knowledge and science, because having the facts makes it a lot easier, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you can understand it. And listen, folks, if some of the scientific bits are too scientific, don't worry, because
No, just gloss over them.
yeah, because we find some of them. Oh wow, I don't get my head around.
But it
all
is interesting to try and learn what happens in our bodies.
And we learn a little bit more each week, and that's good.
And we must say that we're not health professionals.
Yeah, I think he's put a slide up this time.
Oh, no, he has. Right, okay. But just in case there isn't, we are not health professionals.
No, so don't do anything without advice of your doctor.
Yeah.
So we are looking at the fact that knowledge is so important. One of the people that has helped us a lot is Dr. Becky, herself a Christian lady. Now, this is entitled When I Get Older, Losing My Hair Many Years from now. Which is not the case for me. And that different things happen to our bodies. But this actually, although she's looking at people over 50, I think,
yeah, she's talking about the metabolic things that happen when you're over 50.
But look, folks, we all want to get over 50.
Yeah,
whatever
it will happen,
age.
Even if you're under 50, it will happen one day.
Even if you're under 50, it will happen.
Yeah.
And so we need to understand that, we're all going to get to that point at some point. So let's hear what Dr. Becky has to say, when I get older.
Welcome to part 1 of our 3-part series on losing weight after 50. In this video, we'll identify metabolic issues that arise as we age and how they affect our ability to lose weight. And then I'll bring you parts 2 and 3, where we'll discuss fat loss strategies that work despite our age and practical food swaps that make the whole process easy, enjoyable, and effective. I hope you'll join me. I was born in 1967, so I am over 50, as are most of my friends and many of the men and women I work with in my coaching program. And what I've noticed is that as we age, it's easy to get focused on what I'm going to call metabolic disadvantages, or factors that make losing weight more difficult. For instance, it's common knowledge that as we age, our basal metabolic rate, or BMR, goes down. And since a lower BMR means that you burn fewer calories at rest, then this is a metabolic disadvantage of aging. Other factors that we could label as metabolic disadvantages include the accumulation of injuries that make it possibly more difficult to exercise at the same level that we once could, and also hormonal changes that come with menopause for women and lower testosterone for men, both of which are going to influence the way fat is stored on our bodies. And while these factors certainly have an impact on how efficiently our bodies burn fat, they don't prevent fat loss. And I would also add that they are not directly caused by our diet. So we don't really have much say over whether or not these things are going to come our way, right? So menopause happens to all women by about the age of 50, and there is no natural remedy that's going to change that reality. But there are 2 metabolic disadvantages that have quite a bit to do with our diet and they develop over time. And they are insulin resistance and poor gut health. So when it comes to developing a strategy to lose weight after 50, these 2 factors are important because they are the ones that we can influence through diet and lifestyle. So insulin resistance, that is something that I discuss often on my channel. It's a very descriptive term because it literally means that your cells become resistant to insulin. Insulin is a hormone. Hormones are substances in your body that carry messages, and those messages tell your cells what to do. Insulin's message is to tell your cells to take in glucose, or what is also commonly called blood sugar, which is the fuel that your cells can either burn immediately for energy or store away for later energy. A little bit of that stored energy gets put into your muscles, but the leftovers go into your biggest energy reserve, which is your fat cells. So we can say that when insulin is present, you are in fat storing mode. When insulin is not present, the tide changes and the stored energy can be released. So we can say that when insulin is low, you move into fat burning mode. And when we were young, our cells were very receptive to insulin, and this whole mechanism of storing fat and burning fat provided us with sustained energy and fairly easy weight control. But after years of eating a poor diet, especially if our diet was high in sugar and refined carbs, and we gum up this system. Basically, we fed too much fuel into the system, and our cells got tired of hearing insulin's message. So they started to resist it. They started to stop taking in glucose, and you develop what we call insulin resistance. And now we have a cascade of problems that lead to weight gain. First, your cells are not taking in glucose from the food you eat, so you crave more food. Your blood sugar level stays elevated, which is why insulin resistance is said to be a pre-diabetic state. And insulin levels also stay elevated as insulin tries to move the glucose out of your blood. And that chronically high insulin level keeps you in that fat storing mode. And in my opinion, insulin resistance as well as gut health, which we'll talk about in a moment, are of particular interest to those of us over the age of 50 because of how eating has changed during our lifetimes. In his book, Always Hungry, Dr. David Ludwig states that in 1960s, Americans ate more than 40% of calories as fat. Today, the fat intake approaches the government recommended limit of 30%, but rates of obesity have skyrocketed. There are many reasons why fat left our diets, but I think one of the most obvious was that it seemed logical not to eat as much fat. If you don't want to get fat, don't eat fat. That is a statement that seems like it is very sensible. But our bodies are very complex machines, so a lot of times very linear thinking like that doesn't produce the results that we are after. And the unforeseen issue of switching to a low-fat diet was that you couldn't just remove fat because it supplies a large portion of your calorie needs and, of course, a lot of flavor. So to solve those problems, we turned to two things: eating more refined and sugary carbohydrates that replaced the calories and flavor, and an increase in our use of vegetable oils, which we thought at the time were healthier fats. Those refined carbs not only hastened the onset of insulin resistance, but they also stripped the fiber from the carbs, and that is detrimental to gut health. The good bacteria of your gut are living organisms that need to eat. What they eat is undigested bits of food. So fiber is a major source of food for your good gut bacteria. And in your gut, there are also bad bacteria, and they thrive on sugar. Our increased use of vegetable oils also damaged the gut microbiome. As saturated fats fell out of favor, we replaced those solid fats with liquid vegetable oils. And interestingly enough, this is how trans fats got started. Switching to liquid vegetable oils created a problem for food makers because the liquid fats were not good for baking. So through chemistry in a lab, food manufacturers discovered that adding hydrogen to vegetable oils turned them from a liquid to a solid. And that is how hydrogenated vegetable oils or trans fats like Crisco and margarine found their way into our food supply. Today, vegetable oils and in particular soybean oil are found in most packaged foods, and they are used in fast food fryers. And we are just now learning how detrimental these polyunsaturated fats are. These seed oils are very high in refined inflammatory omega-6 fats that get into your digestive tract and promote the growth of bad bacteria. So how does the health of your gut microbiome affect your ability to lose weight? Well, it appears that there are many mechanisms. The good bacteria of your gut act as a final level of digestion for the foods that you eat. For instance, fiber that cannot be digested in your small intestine is digested in your gut bacteria and converted to short-chain fatty acids that have many weight loss benefits. On my second YouTube channel that I run with my husband, we did a video on short-chain fatty acids and weight loss, which I will link to. But among the benefits are better hunger control and increased fat burning. And there's likely more to learn about an unhealthy gut and how it promotes weight gain. For instance, this study looked at the gut microbiome of obese and lean twins and found that a decreased diversity of gut bacteria was associated with obesity. So it is no doubt that living in our world for the past 50 plus years has caused us to accumulate some metabolic disadvantages. But despite the challenges, the basic mechanism of fat loss does not change. When you learn to eat in a way that keeps insulin low and that feeds your beneficial gut microbiome, the weight does come off. In part 2 of our Losing Weight Over 50 series, I will share fat loss strategies that work and that you can easily incorporate into your life. But if you do not want to wait for that part 2 to come out, I invite you to watch my free video series that teaches my 0, 1, 2, 3 strategy. That simple strategy will get you back to eating whole foods and get sugar and refined carbs out of your diet. So I will leave some links below in the description area so you can go watch that. Please subscribe and click that bell beside the subscribe button so you are alerted when part 2 is published. Thanks so much for watching.
Well,
thank you, Dr. Becky.
It's good, useful points in there.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was pretty good was the hormonal things that happen to us ladies when we get over 50 is not our choice. It's going to happen anyway.
Yes.
Yeah, and so that, and maybe, like she said, any injuries that we get will make us not able to do so much exercises. These things we can't help.
No.
But we can help what we eat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if she mentioned it or she does mention it, but milk and dairy products are very good for our bone. And
that's right. Yeah. Yeah, she doesn't say that, but that's right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, a good, healthy, I'm a big fan of unprocessed milk.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, just gently pasteurized to kill off any bugs.
So that's good for our gut health, like she was talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think of my breakfast already.
After your tea.
Actually, I'm not hungry. So we have a duty. The Bible says, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you'll be able to test and approve what God's will is. His good, pleasing, and perfect will. And Romans 12:2. And again, I don't think God designed us to be ill or sick.
No, he designed us to live life to the full.
Yeah.
Have life in its abundance.
Yeah. And sometimes it's renewing our mind, because folks, for the last 40 years, we have been told, don't eat
one way.
Yeah. Don't eat fat.
No.
Whatever you do, don't eat butter. Don't eat dairy. Don't, cut back on the red meat. Cut back on this, cut back on that. And now science is actually saying we got it wrong. Mm-hmm. And actually you can eat red meat. You can eat butter.
Full fat milk and cream. Yeah.
Yeah. And look at, my parents weren't overweight.
No.
My mum in the last days probably put on a pound or two.
Yeah, she was also on a diet, if I remember rightly.
But it was, I don't know what sort of diet it was.
Bless her.
But my uncles, I think about my uncles, and he ate fried breakfast every morning and lived in his 90s and was fit as a fiddle. But anyway, so repentance is there about repentance is actually changing the way we think. Just because we think a certain way,
a complete turnaround.
Yeah. Just because we did, and the world may eat one way, but we don't have to.
No.
And that's, once you get that into your head, it doesn't matter if you go out for a meal or whether you're cooking for friends over, you can eat the way you want to.
Yeah.
If you were a recovering alcoholic or drug addict, you wouldn't, because you went out with friends, you wouldn't suddenly say, well, I'm going to get drunk tonight.
No.
Or I'm going to have some whatever. No. You stick to the wagon.
We're in charge of our own bodies, aren't we? So it's
always
up to us.
It's up to us, and we need to make that decision.
Not up to anybody else.
And stick to it.
Yeah.
And yes, I think we've got a testimony coming up in a week or so of someone that was doing very well, and then because of influence of family and taking their mind off it, dropped off the wagon and felt pretty rough about it. And so I think
tomorrow is always another day.
Yes, and this person's coming back and doing it again and says, I'm not doing that again.
No.
So very interesting.
what is good for my health.
Yeah, because it's not just about food, is it?
No,
Yeah,
no,
as
it's
Christians,
your whole life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You say it's better to give than to receive, but you like receiving as well.
Yeah.
But
yeah, giving generously does make you feel good.
Yeah. And sometimes we
helps other people.
Yeah. Sometimes we just need to get out and do something for someone else, as opposed to look at our own problems.
Yeah.
Navel gazing is not good.
No.
When if you can see your navel is a good thing, isn't it? So, a generous man will prosper. He refreshes others, will himself be refreshed.
Yeah, that is very true, because sometimes I might think that I haven't seen anybody for a day or two, and you pick up the phone and talk to somebody, and everybody feels better.
Yeah. And the person that's lonely, just by doing something, they're not as lonely.
No.
And having fun. Do we have fun?
Yeah, we have fun.
We have fun.
We laugh at ourselves a lot.
We have to. And a cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones. And so try and do things that make you laugh, Watch Faulty Towers if you like Faulty Towers.
Yeah, time and time again.
And unwind. It's good.
Now the dog has come to join us.
Yeah, but she isn't on camera yet, but she probably will be if she thinks she can see herself on the screen. That's what you get for being outside, you see. Anyway, nice. It's nice. It's getting darker, but I don't think it's going to be too dark. And we're going to have thunderstorms, they say.
Yeah.
Hopefully
not in the next few minutes.
So
it's Dr. Becky part 2.
And what's she talking about?
Smart carbs, right fat. Yep, I renamed that one.
You did?
Yep.
So some carbs are okay.
Yeah.
And because some people say a balanced diet is all you need. Well, it depends what you're balancing it with.
Yeah. No, she's talking about what fats we eat.
Okay. Well, let's have a listen and see what she's got to say on this part 2.
In the first part of our series, we talked about metabolic disadvantages that make it harder to lose weight as we age. Here in part 2 of our series, I'll walk you through fat loss strategies that work after 50. In part 1, we identified insulin resistance and poor gut health as 2 metabolic disadvantages that you can influence through your diet. If you've been following my channel, you know I'm a proponent of low-carb, high-fat dieting, and that is certainly an effective strategy for weight loss. But when we are over the age of 50, we need to look at this diet strategy with a bit of a twist so that we make sure we are keeping our carbohydrates low enough to bypass insulin resistance, and that we are eating in a way that feeds our good gut bacteria. And this can be a tricky combination because these 2 things can conflict with each other. And here are the challenges. First, high fiber foods feed your good gut bacteria, but fiber is only found in plant foods, and all plant foods contain carbs. So we find ourselves walking a fine line between eating low carb enough to lose weight and eating enough fiber to promote gut health. Challenge number 2 is that gut-damaging vegetable oils are found on the ingredient list of most foods. So as we age, we do best when we take our low-carb, high-fat diet to a new level, and we focus on what we'll call a smart carb, right fat diet. So let's look at what that means. First of all, find the carbohydrate intake that is right for your body. You've likely heard of a ketogenic diet, and that is certainly a very effective diet, but keto limits the number of high fiber foods you can eat. And it can also be intimidating to go from a high carb diet where you might be eating 250 carbs a day and reduce that intake to less than 50 grams, which is where you need to be in the keto range. And now I have found that some people need to push their carbs this low, but not everyone. You know, every person's metabolism is different. So I feel that it is best for most people to start with a low carb diet, perhaps bring your carbs under 100 grams per day, and then work down until you find the level that works for you. The second way to make this smart carb, right fat diet work for you is to focus on foods with the best fiber to carb ratio. These include non-starchy vegetables, nuts, seeds, and avocados. And I have a video that provides examples of starchy and non-starchy vegetables that you might find helpful, and I'll link to that. I should also add that beans have a favorable fiber to carb ratio, but not everyone tolerates them. Next, focus on whole carbs. You want that carb that you're eating to still look somewhat like the plant that it came from. There are many foods that are refined and then they add back the fiber to increase the fiber to carb ratio. Cereal and meal replacement bars are classic examples. And while fortifying fiber in this way might be helpful, in my opinion, these processed foods are never going to match up to the original food. To improve gut health, you can include fermented foods in your diet. In our home, we like to cook sauerkraut on a regular basis. You can also use things that are fermented like kimchi and kombucha. As for fats, you'll do best when you focus on whole fats like raw nuts and seeds, avocados, fish, eggs, high quality meats. And when you have better oils, so high quality olive oil, avocado oil, coconut oil. And lastly, when you avoid vegetable oils. So start reading labels and you'll be surprised at how many products have vegetable oil or soybean oil listed in them. Things that you wouldn't really expect, like peanut butter, salad dressings, mayonnaise. These things often have soybean or vegetable oils included on their ingredient list. When these 7 steps get incorporated into your daily diet, your insulin stays low, your gut bacteria thrive, and you get results on the scale. Yet I find that these steps often make sense on an intellectual basis, but it's quite another thing to execute these changes in real life. So we find ourselves out to eat and faced with a menu, and it seems so wrong to order a fatty piece of meat. So we end up ordering the bland chicken with a side of broccoli because it's the safe choice, right? But then, of course, we leave the restaurant feeling unsatisfied and craving a dessert. So in our last video of the series, I will give you practical food swaps that bring the whole concept of eating a smart carb, right fat diet together. Thanks for watching. If you are anxious to get started, I do encourage you to watch my free video series that teaches you the 0123 strategy that will get you started with getting sugars out of your diet and getting whole foods back in. Thanks again for watching. Please subscribe and click that little bell button so that you are notified when we put up part number 3. Thanks.
Well, there you go. Anything really stood out to you in that?
No, I'm trying to think if she talked about food swaps, but I think that's on the next little video.
On the next little video. It's
just about
smart,
eating the right fat.
Right fat, you see. Remember what was said in the beginning? Fat with faces comes from animals.
Yeah.
And Dr. Becky uses different terms, but good fats are from animals. And, of course, avocados, coconut.
Yeah, and olive oil.
Olive oil.
Yeah,
Some
not the vegetable oils. No.
No, we try and avoid them. I ate vegetable oil for 40 years.
Yeah. Let's hope the damage can be reversed.
Well, I had hair before I started eating vegetable oil.
Yeah, that's what it was.
There's lots of stories. No, the thing we also say is it's not just about people that are overweight.
No. All these syndromes and things can be.
A lot of these sicknesses and diseases are because we put the wrong stuff into our bodies. Our dog has now found a watering can, which she is deciding that she'd like to get in, I think. Anyway, it's what we put into our bodies which has an effect. And this poor gingerbread man here is looking a bit poorly. And we can have aches and pains internally because of the sugar and refined foods that we've been eating.
Yeah, the consequences of a high carbohydrate diet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and you know, if you look at that list and have a look at the picture, freeze frame the slide, and you know, chronic inflammation, it's there. It goes on and on and on because we're feeding it. And folks, I've got testimonies of people, a friend of it in Canada, who took sugar out of his diet, and his cancer shrunk, and he's lived 15 years, 20 years longer than the doctor said he would. And it's amazing. And all these things have an effect. And the one that really gets me, and I probably said about it before, is what they now call type 3 diabetes,
Alzheimer's,
which is Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And it is proven they've got doctors that have reversed Alzheimer's, the symptoms, because they have changed the diet.
Yeah, because the sugar that we eat causes inflammation, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's everywhere in the body,
Yeah.
including the brain.
Yeah. And we just got to cut it out. Now, the trouble is we've all got, well, we haven't now, but we had sweet tooth.
Yeah. Now it's a job to eat anything too sweet.
Yeah,
isn't
too
it?
sweet. And it's amazing. But you need to stick with it for time, because it does take time for these things to change.
Yeah.
So do stick at it and say to yourself, I'm not going to get these diseases. I'm not going to get them.
No, that's right.
Because I am going to eat the right things at the right stage of my life, and not too often in the day. And I am going to survive all this lot. If you want a slide of that, if you want a copy of that, I've got it. Send me an email address, and I can send that to you. And any of the slides that were used, like last week from the Nutrition Network, we can send the slides to you.
Here she is, Dr. Becky, part 3.
Part 3.
This is the food swaps one.
This is the food swaps. What you can and what you can't.
Yeah, if you're used to having a pizza, she suggests what you use for the base instead, and for potato and rice, what we use instead.
Okay, because we use cauliflower rice.
Yeah, that's what she uses.
Yeah, and it's very good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
it's amazing.
She'll tell us
how you get used to it.
Yeah, and you can buy it in Tesco's now, already done.
Oh, get on.
With nothing added, just the cauli.
Yeah. And fry it up with a bit of butter,
which is actually probably cheaper and more convenient anyway than buying a cauliflower.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah. But of course, the great thing is that vegetables are good for us. They are part of our 5 a day. If you've got to have that term 5 a day, vegetables are the ones, not too much fruit. The dog is going to appear on set any second. There you go. That's a good time to say, let's watch Dr. Becky and the food swaps. Yeah, should we watch Dr. Becky? That'd be good, wouldn't it?
After the age of 50, it's challenging to change the way we eat because we have established our likes and dislikes. But if your food choices are blocking your ability to lose weight, you'll want to find food swaps that taste great and keep you in a fat-burning mode. Here are 10 swaps we've made in our home. In parts 1 and 2 of our series, we established how eating foods that keep insulin low and feed your good gut bacteria help you lose weight. So let's take a look at some practical food swaps that will help you accomplish those 2 goals. And let's start with a few of the comfort foods. Here in the United States, mashed potatoes are a favorite comfort food. Unfortunately, they do not have a good fiber to carb ratio. A better choice is mashed cauliflower. And I will tell you that the first time I made mashed cauliflower, I hated it, and so did my husband. The secret to making it taste good is to add fat and seasoning. And it couldn't be easier to make. I literally dump a bag of frozen cauliflower into a microwave-safe bowl for about 8 minutes, microwave it, put the cooked cauliflower into a food processor with some butter, some seasoning like maybe garlic powder, salt and pepper, and it is ready for your table. Riced cauliflower is a great swap for regular rice, and now that low-carb dieting has become popular, it is easy to find it already riced cauliflower in your grocery store, just among the other frozen vegetables. This can simply be poured into a pan on the stove, mix it with butter and seasoning. We like to put taco seasoning with it for kind of a Mexican-style dish. Giving up pizza was an issue for my husband until we started making keto pizza crust. We share our pizza recipe in our keto party plan, but you can certainly turn to Google for recipes. Ours is made with mozzarella cheese, cream cheese, and pork rinds, which are a surprisingly versatile food for keeping a low-carb diet interesting. And I am the first to admit that they do not provide a lot in the way of nutritional value, but when used as breading, they make an acceptable low-carb swap. You simply smash the pork rinds to a consistency of breadcrumbs and then bread them for anything on pork chops to chicken. One of the hardest concepts to get on board with when you're switching to a low-carb, high-fat diet is trading low-fat versions of foods for full-fat versions. So here are a few swaps that I recommend. We don't eat a lot of yogurt in our house, but when we do, we eat full-fat yogurt over low-fat yogurt. We also choose full-fat salad dressing over low-fat dressing. The challenge here is finding a brand that does not use vegetable oils that are damaging to the gut microbiome. A brand we use is Primal Kitchen because it is one of the few commercial brands that does not use vegetable oils. We also avoid vegetable oils when cooking, so instead of cooking with sunflower oil or canola oil, we will use a heat-tolerant fat like butter or coconut oil or avocado oil. For many years, we used egg whites and threw away the yolk, but that is no longer necessary. I have a video that goes more in depth into eating eggs, but in my opinion, you'll do best and feel your best when you eat the whole egg and not just the egg white. Another challenging concept to get into our heads is choosing fattier meats. We don't use a lot of chicken in our home, but when we do, we like to use chicken thighs over chicken breasts because the thighs have a higher fat content. Also, beef varies in its fat content. If you're buying it at the grocery store, I recommend looking for at least 15% fat ground beef. And of course, higher quality is better, so grass-fed and organic are going to be your best choices. Thanks so much for tuning in for our series on losing weight over 50. If you would like help putting everything together, I encourage you to look into my coaching program where many of my members are over the age of 50, and you'll find meal plans there that have been created for you that range from low carb to keto, so you can find that right level to put your body into a fat burning state and improve gut health.
Okay. Well, that was the food swaps and Dr. Becky and dog swaps. The dog is obviously thinking it's time for you to go for a W, I think, but we won't say the word.
No.
And
like she uses mashed cauliflower, not just the rice cauliflower.
Oh yeah.
Mashed cauliflower with butter and pepper or any flavouring you want.
And that's nice.
Put it on top of some mince and you got a shepherd's pie.
Yeah, and mince. Listen, folks, when you go out to buy your mince here in the UK, it's different, I'm sure, in America, but you can get a cheaper mince if you have a higher level of fat.
Yeah.
And I think you bought
some that was over 20% fat. I hadn't seen that. That was in Aldi.
Yeah, I think it was 25.
Yeah.
And of course, when you get the fat, you got the flavour.
You got the taste, that's right.
And it's really good taste. It's a good way of getting your fat in your meal. It's good, healthy fat when you're not loading yourself with carbohydrates, no problem. And we chat a little bit about this in a minute, about your balance of eating.
Yeah, and the other thing is I found, I had a job to find avocado oil, but I did in the end, but it was in Waitrose. So I can't remember how much it cost. I haven't actually used any yet, but I have got some.
If it was in Waitrose, it wasn't cheap.
No.
Sorry, Waitrose.
I went to Waitrose to look for mayonnaise that didn't have rapeseed oil.
Very hard to find, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's impossible.
Yeah, the only way to do it is to make your own.
Yeah, but I did go look.
So worth trying. And so
some reasons we don't always succeed.
Okay. Every day is a new day.
Yeah, you can always start again.
Yeah. And it is important not to give up. Have a goal, write it down.
Yeah, and also then make steps towards that goal.
Yeah.
You don't have to get there all at once. You can do it in steps.
Now we have, the only goal we have now is to share with other people.
Yeah, and to keep.
Yes.
As we are.
But
yeah, to share with other people.
Once you've achieved your target weight and your BMI is in the real healthy scale, you can still eat good food and still eat the same way, because we don't want the inside of our body to get unhealthy.
No, because it's not a diet, it's a way of life.
It's a way of life.
Yeah.
And, take a note of what you're eating. And if you find that you're not losing weight, are your portions a little bit too big? But the other thing that to understand, and we were looking at a video just now and looking at some information, is it takes time to become fat adapted.
Yeah, he said 3 to 6 months it can take.
Yeah. Now 6 months is a long time, and I would expect most people would be well on their way fat adapted by.
That means that you burn your own fat as a fuel.
Yeah, and
without having to take
it's like that. We talked about hybrid cars in one of the sessions last week, or someone did.
Not putting petrol in a diesel car.
Yeah, and what you find is
the different fuels.
Your body has been so used to using sugar that what you find is in the morning or whenever you get the shakes, or you feel, well, I got to have something, and you have carbs, it's instant. You feel better straight away. Or a can of Coke, it's instant. And the trouble is, your body is being used to instant energy. And what you got to do is train it.
It's training, but I didn't realize that's what we had to do, is train our bodies.
Yeah.
But we do.
It's training your body.
So it takes time, different time for different people.
Yeah. And so it is important that we train, and you can only do that by eating some high fat, low carb food. But after a while, if you start eating this high fat food and if you've got enough fuel, you're eating a lot of fuel in the fat.
Well as your own.
You've got your own there. You're not going to use your own if you keep putting the amount you need. So you have to reduce the amount of fat to go to a lower carb once your body is started getting fat adapted.
But you have to eat the fat to begin with to get it
to train
used to using fat as a fuel.
Exactly. So it's important. So if you find that, because we've seen this with people on the course.
Heard people say, I've
plateaued.
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything.
That's why, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because their fat intake is probably a little bit too high.
Yeah, and their body hasn't yet. Well, the carbs could be too high as well, and they're still burning sugar. And you have to do it. Now, you could do it, but some people go on this keto diet and they go overnight and they stop carbs and they eat full fat and they go into ketosis very quickly.
Yeah, but
and
they can get
headaches,
feeling
sick,
flu,
shakes. Yeah, keto
flu.
And so what we think is do it steady, do it slowly.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Yeah, that's good. That. So, do it. Don't worry if you've gone 3 weeks, 4 weeks without losing weight. Your body is getting adapted to the new way of living.
And then you'll become fat adapted.
Yeah, and the less you can cheat in this time, the less you can cheat, the better, because you fall down very quickly. And it takes a long time then to build that back up.
Yeah, and you think of all that good work that you've done.
Yes.
For the sake of one meal or one day or something.
Yeah. So do try not to cheat, and unless you're really down towards your goal. And your goal should be to get to a proper BMI.
Yeah, a healthy BMI.
Healthy BMI, yeah. So remember, you're not failing.
No.
You just have to pick yourself up and go again.
Yeah.
And
talk to someone about it, and get encouragement from the WhatsApp group.
Yeah, join up the WhatsApp group.
Lots of people have said how it encourages them when they've, had a bad day or two.
Yeah. So that's great. And remind yourself, I can do all things
through Christ who strengthens us.
Yeah. And we are overcomers, and we need to live our life as overcomers.
Now we can chat about this on Zoom, or if you're not going to join us on Zoom, have a think about these things.
Yeah.
Take stock of what's been going on in the week.
Send us an email, ask us a question. If there's something that you haven't understood, you'll find the links to the videos that we've shown down below. There will be a sign come up on the screen as we've been going through this. And, do something to cheer yourself up.
Yeah.
What makes you feel good? You might say eating chocolate. Well, have dark.
1 square of dark chocolate.
Yeah.
But don't buy it if you can't stop at 1 square.
No. And then it should be the
85% or whatever. Yeah.
Wow.
Yummy.
Sal loves it.
Yeah. I don't always have it in the house, because then 1 bar doesn't last very long.
No.
I have it every now and again.
So we'll love to see you on Zoom if you can make it. Let us know if there's anything we can help you with. If there's a certain topic that you'd like discussed in the next couple of weeks, let us know.
Coming to the end of this session, series.
And the dog is coming to say cheerio as well now, because I think we've come to the end.
Yeah.
And so
see you next week.
Yeah. And as the sun goes down a little bit here, we're in.
Yeah.
I was going to say we're in sunny Truro, and near Truro, in Cornwall, in the UK. And from us tonight, we'd like to say
bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Have a great week. We'll see you in Zoom or next week at 7:30.
Yeah.
Take care. Bless you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's all, folks.